Welcome to Charts Today. My name is David Linton, and today's edition for Friday, the 10th of March, comes to you from London. And we'll start as always, by looking at currencies, then US stock markets, Europe, Asia, some commodities, precious metals, and then we will look at some US tech stocks and some Footsie stocks just to round up for the week. So we start with the dollar index. It's just coming back a bit from this 102.25 level. It's clearly a resistance level. We hit this last week and struggled. The chart is still very much to the upside. We're seeing here these multiple upside targets on the short-term chart. Remembering this is my long-term, my medium-term, and my short-term view. But on all three time horizons, the dollar is still bullish. Euro is strengthening this morning. It's come back above the cloud on the short term. We haven't activated this upside target of 109, but it has recovered a bit. So we are just seeing the euro looking a little bit stronger this morning. Although the long and medium term picture is still pretty weak. Japanese yen, dollar is rising here, continuing its rise, so dollar looking pretty strong there. And against sterling, we're just seeing sterling coming off the bottom. It was at that 121.50 level yesterday. You can see this more clearly on the chart. It was really just touching this 121.40 level a few times and finding support there. We don't have a lot of work to do to get through the cloud. But at the moment it's still bearish on all three time frames, and we do have these downside targets of 121.16 and 117.70. So any respite is likely to be short-lived. Looking at euro sterling, sterling is still falling against the euro, so stronger euro here and back below the cloud, bearish on all three time frames. And the Swiss franc sitting at about the 123 level, not much change there. Against the Aussie dollar, sterling did strengthen a little bit, and just on a weaker Aussie, but it's now coming back, and we've got all these downside targets building. Very compelling case here: 155, 159, 157.50, 159.49. Only one upside target not activated, all these downside targets activated. It does look like sterling versus the Australian dollar will go lower. If we look at the S&P 500 index, just looking at the 60-minute chart there, we see that we are still above the cloud and bullish in all three time frames. So we barely changed this week, really. We can see that just with this negative candle, but yesterday change of up 1.89 points, so really very small change indeed. The Nasdaq, much the same picture, just holding on to the bullishness really, but not advancing any further. Same with the Dow and the Russell. We are just seeing a steady decline in the broader market. And we look at the futures. No great changes here at the moment. Nasdaq E-mini is up currently 0.3%, so we might see the market just opening up slightly. Looking at the Footsie 100, just holding on to the bullishness here. We would call that a temporary breach, so that really hasn't breached, so we're still bullish above the cloud. We've got these upside targets. We've got a new one here if we can move higher to 7,761, but it's 7,555. 7,555 at the moment is the target, so Footsie's still looking better. FTSE 250 holding on to its bullishness as well with upside targets. Quite a lot of upside targets here, so pretty good. The DAX bullish above the cloud here on all three time frames, still looking pretty good. And the Nikkei up 1.5%, that weaker yen having an effect. Up 1.5%, just looking set to break to new highs on that medium term chart, but bullish on all three time frames with upside targets, so looking pretty good. Just waiting for this long term upside target to be activated. And if we just go another 1% higher, we'll activate that 40% upside. So Japan looking pretty good all round. Hang Seng is bearish at the moment below the cloud on the short-term chart, but the medium and long-term looking okay. Shanghai Composite also gone bearish below the cloud, just really wandering out of this bearish zone on the long-term chart. The Indian market still looks fantastic on all three time frames, and the Australian market has also come back into bullish mode, and lots of upside targets there on the Aussie market. So that's on the ASX 200. Lots of upside targets, looking pretty good all round. Brent crude, we're bearish below the cloud. Really quite a big, strong fall here, and we have just really broken out of this range. This time of year, normally we'd expect to be going up. The seasonality is pretty strong, so that's quite interesting. And same with WTI moving lower there as well. Nat gas actually is back above the $3 level, so that's a really quite a good recovery. And we're seeing a lot of short-term targets here to the upside. So that's quite interesting that nat gas is now just showing some positive signs in the short term. Medium term is still bearish, of course. Copper, we're below the cloud here on the short-term charts, is still a little bit bearish there. Taking a look at gold, we're below the $1,200 level, so that's a little bit worrying. We still are holding the long-term bullish position, and here we did come along above the cloud. Will we find support here? That's the real key. We really are sort of falling away, capitulating away from this cloud now. So we've still got this upside target in train, but at the and no clear downside targets. But gold looking pretty bearish at the moment, and silver much the same. Take a look at the German bond. It's falling away quite heavily, which reflects the rise in rates, and we're seeing US interest rates really now starting to move. On the 10-year Treasury yield, 2.61. So that's a really big move this week, almost just 10, up 0.1%. So starting to move to new highs here, pricing in a rate rise basically. So US rates looking pretty strong. Apple still holding its bullishness, as is Google, Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, all above the cloud. Nvidia being the one that's pulling back, and quite a few downside targets here, which is what tempted me to sell, having had that tripling in the stock. Just taking a look at some Footsie stocks. What I normally do is this data all coming from DTN. What I normally do is look at the good ones first. So BT in the news this morning with their breakup. So still bearish below the cloud, but quite a big jump in the price there. Glencore looking pretty strong, except for the short-term chart. Ashted again looking pretty strong short term, just starting to come back into strength. Shell, we're seeing there, same thing. Supermarkets this morning generally looking a bit better. Morrison's is bearish below the cloud there. Bank of Scotland just coming back into bullish territory in the short term. Long term chart's got some work to do, but starting to look a bit better. Anglo American, bearish below the cloud, so today is just a counter trend move. Intertek, this is one of the better looking stocks, a really good week there, and making new highs, so an upside target. So just amazing how you can just spot the good charts just from using this this template. And we see here Micro Focus again, multiple upside targets looking quite good. Going to the just clicking on the percentage down, I can then see the laggards. So we've got Randgold not looking so good. United Utilities falling back a bit there below the cloud on the short term. Long term, not so good here either. SSE really in a range. And we can just literally go through these charts. We see a lot of house builders here this morning. Hammerson, Persimmon, quite a lot. The one that came up yesterday is in my scan, Rolks, which was the old Reed Elsevier group, looking pretty good with lots of upside targets. Down this morning, but and we see here the short-term chart is a bit choppy, but this is the one that came up in my scan. Watch that scan of yesterday's Footsie for that. Taking a look at the Nasdaq, my original scan on the Nasdaq 100 was these were the top 16. Automated data processing, not looking so good at the moment, just pulling back a little bit. Applied materials looking great, just continuing with upside targets. Celgene also looking pretty good. I bought these some of these stocks, so I'm watching these with interest. So it's just a case of, I mean, you can do this on any list, of course. So these were a couple more that came up in my scans, all looking good. The great thing is that you can actually just add any list you want and then take this long, medium and short-term view in a matter of a minute, or not even, in a matter of seconds. You've got a quick view of what's going on in the stock. That's it for today. Have a great weekend. Until Monday, happy charting. See you then.